With the first pick in the 2025 Sportsbook Draft, FanDuel selects the Kentucky Derby.
New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $500 on the Kentucky Derby with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
All right. This is the 2025 Kentucky Derby Preview podcast from Equibase. It is presented by FanDuel Racing. I'm Dan Tordjman from America's Best Racing, and we've got a double dose of Dan today. Dan Piazza is with us, the 2025 NHC champion. Scott Coles, the 2019 NHC champion, is here. And Christina Blacker is here, of course, again, to run this back like we've done so many times in the past. We've had a lot of success with this show, so we thank you for joining us on our biggest show every single year, the Kentucky Derby Show, where we'll cover the Oaks and the Derby. As I mentioned, in 2019, Scott Coles won the NHC, became the youngest winner in the history of the National Horse Players Championship. And this year, Dan Piazza became the most attractive player to ever win the NHC. Dan, how has your life changed in the past couple of months? Tell us about it.
It's been busy, Dan. A lot of different folks asking me to participate in events or podcasts like this, and a lot of people that I hadn't talked to in a long time just reached out to say congratulations. So it's been a lot of fun.
And Race Lens, we know, was part of what got you to the finish line. Tell us about how you use this product, just in summary, and then we're going to kind of see it in use in a couple of moments. But how did you use it, and how did you use it at the NHC?
Race Lens, my first go-to tool to help me with the shape of the race, what the pace of the race is going to look like, how the participants in the race are going to, run at those different points of call. And it's the starting point for everything I do. And once I look at that race shape, then I sort of dig into the PPs and sort of tear it apart and make sure that Race Lens is going to be on this race, or has the horse changed a little bit since it's last time it raced.
Yep. So look, there's so many tools. We're going to look at some of them. We're going to dive into the platform. We're going to show it to you. And really, there is no better time to get in on Race Lens but now. There's Triple Crown savings. You can get 3 months of Race Lens for only $99. You can use promo code TCRL99 at checkout on Equibase.com. That's one special deal. Another one is that you can get premium PP subscription for $99 as well. The code for that is TCEQB99. Use that at checkout at Equibase.com. We will cover that again at the end, just in case you missed it. And we want to remind you that, as you know, this is presented by FanDuel Racing. And with the Derby almost being here, you can get in on all of the Derby Day action with FanDuel. You can bet the big race without leaving the Sportsbook app. So if you got the FanDuel Racing app, you're in. You can bet right there. What are you waiting for? Download the app and bet America's #1 race with America's #1 sportsbook right now. All right, I am excited to get into this, and we start, as always, with Friday, which is the Kentucky Oaks, race 11, Churchill Downs. Christina, we tee you up. Who do you like?
It's a wonderful edition of the Kentucky Oaks this year. 14 fillies to line up. Really looking forward to the Friday program overall, just top to bottom, such good racing all week. I take no issue with anyone that wants to choose a favorite in here. Good Cheer. She's undefeated, 6 for 6. I can't find any holes in her form, really. She makes her own trip. She makes her own luck out there. She's a horse that can be on or near the lead if she needs to, but she's also a horse that can drop back a little bit as well. But the horse that I ended up settling on in here is Lacara, the 7 horse for Mark Casse. I was so impressed by her last race in the Ashland. I think if we could pull that replay up a little bit, just from about the 3/4 pull home, because I'm going to take the opinion that this is going to be one of the stronger prep races just in general moving towards this year's Kentucky Oaks. I love what Lacara was able to do. And I'm also a huge fan of Take Charge Milady, who's going to end up second in here. So as we pick up the replay, Lacara is already on the lead. She was on the front end. She was really well in hand on this occasion. I think she's one of those fillies that's just getting so good right now. Your eventual second place finisher is in those Tiffany blue silks, and she had a lot of ground to make up. Take Charge Milady, quite a bit of running to do to go ahead and run her down. But one of the real key things that's kind of pushed me in the direction of Lucara is being here this week, keeping an eye on our Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup shows, and just seeing how good she is. Because you can see in the replay just how dominant she pulls away from this field. She'll end up a length and a quarter clear across the wire. Take Charge Milady will be 3.5 lengths clear of Muhima. And if you talk to Brad Cox throughout the season, the last 6 months, he would have told you Muhima was his best of the 3-year-old fillies. That was no secret. She was definitely kind of the buzz horse from his barn. So with Lucara doing so well, her recent works have looked absolutely phenomenal. She was the bullet best of 33 on April 22nd. We showed her most recent work on the Breakfast at the Kentucky Derby show, and I think she's just training so well. Also, if you just look at her form, that last race that we just showed you in the Ashland, she ends up with the highest Equibase speed figure, both herself. She's clearly peaking right now, highlighted in green there on Race Lens, and for the field and class-wise. A lot of push on that race as being especially strong for her. Strong record at Churchill Downs as well. Doesn't hurt. You always have to consider that when you're talking about this racing. She has a win over the course. She has a couple other placings over the course as well. And then the angle for me that I pulled with her, and I think this really comes into play not only with the fillies and the Oaks, but when you start to talk about the horses in the Kentucky Derby, who wants to go this far distance-wise? And the offspring of Straight Sense, dirt routes at 9 furlongs and beyond. The percentage yielding here will be 26% as far as the wins go. So it's strong from the top side, strong on the bottom side as well. Bernardini mares, if you want to go back over the last several years, the last stat I could actually find on this, and this was just through looking through the Godolphin website, 92 stakes winners. That was as of September of 2024 from Bernardini mares. So top and bottom, you're looking at a lot of pedigree to appreciate the distance. I always, when I pull any angle on Race Lens, I go to that show all button because I'm just curious what else comes up and who else in the field might stack up pretty strongly. And that was another thing that kind of pushed me towards Take Charge Milady, and then flatters the form for this horse. 29% dirt routes at 9 furlongs and beyond for the offspring of Take Charge Indy. Really, really strong top and bottom. These are going to be the top 2 horses for me. As I mentioned, good cheer. I'll throw her in there. I have no issue with her form. I think she's going to run a good race. But to me right now, Lucara is the filly that really feels good and seems like she's ready to fire a big shot.
Nice. I like the way you're saying Take Charge Milady. It's kind of like you got this little southern drawl when you say Milady.
I've been in Kentucky for like 12 hours and all of a sudden.
Am I the only one noticing this? And also with that horse, I did read something earlier this week where she was dealing with some sort of foot issue, right? Are you hearing anything about that? Do you know if
Yes. So we've talked to Kenny McPeak about that a little bit. The way that he has described it is kind of like a hangnail. So she's dealing with a bit of a quarter crack. And if you think about us, like humans, if you want to try to relate it, at a certain point, if you kind of cut your nail or if you have a little hangnail, it doesn't bother you until it gets to where it's really close to sort of the flesh of your finger. He's been trying to patch that together to feel strong enough for her to compete. They're trying to keep it dry. They're trying to keep it from abscessing. But this is something that they have fought on and off with her throughout the season. So Kenny McPeak will probably have to make a very last-minute decision about this. I'd say there's a chance that Take Charge Milady does scratch the morning of the Kentucky Oaks. But if she runs, you have to have the confidence in a horseman like this who won the Oaks and the Derby last year that he's patched it to the point that she's ready for competition.
Yep. All right. That's good info. Scott, where did you land here?
So I went to bed last night and I had Lucara also, but kind of moved her down just because of a pace issue I have. But so I landed on quiet side. Don't love the 14, but did break from the 12 2 races back, and it didn't seem to bother her. My issue with quiet side, and we're all looking for ways to beat good cheer. I mean, just because that morning line is insanely low, and I don't know where it's going to end up, but no knocks either on good cheer. But if quiet side can just break for once, I mean, the course quickens so fast. But even if you lost, it's not in the track comments, but I mean, the horse did not break last time either. It just never seems to get out of the gate. But if she ever does, she could be in perfect position. She quickens so easily. I don't think she'll have an issue crossing over. And I think she likes since Jose Ortiz has switched to this horse. I mean, the running style has changed. And I don't know if that was the plan or if he switched it, but whatever happened, the horse is 2 for 2 and just pressing right up on some pretty good horses. And I love the new running style. I love that they don't have to be on the lead, but it isn't going to be too far back. And I think if we kind of think back to losing by a couple lengths to Good Cheer at the end of last year in the Goldenrod, I think Quiet Size improved more than Golden Cheer has, or Good Cheer, sorry, I don't Goldenrod, Good Cheer. And I just think if there's one more forward step, I think the price will be right to kind of want to play this horse more than Good Cheer for me. But we'll see how the odds shake out. I think my only concern is besides the post and breaking is just the gallop out on the last race was a little short for me, but I don't know. It seemed like kind of did that in the last race as well, but it was harder to see. And my biggest issue with replays these days is some show the gallop out now and some aren't, just all of a sudden just like panning away and you can't tell. So I don't know if that's just how the horse kind of normally gallops out or if that was kind of a one-off. I'll be very interested in how the workout reports come back and what Christina has to say about the body language of the horse. But I think this is just one I'm interested in, just trying to beat Good Cheer. Good Cheer is a deserving favorite. Like I said, the morning lines just bothers me a little bit. If we go to the True Odds page and just talk about it, another way to use Racelands, if you trust everything they have here, I mean, that's a pretty big, if you look on the pace projector on the bottom, that's a pretty big win percentage. I mean, for a race this competitive, I mean, they think this horse has got just a phenomenal chance. And undefeated's done nothing wrong. I think this has been the target all along. Don't even know if we've seen the best yet, but kind of I just think Quiet Side might be on the improve a little bit more, and I'm hoping because I'm just trying to get creative because I just don't want to take that short of a price here. But if you sort by late pace, I mean, there's a lot of them with some late pace, and Good Cheer and Lucara, who I'll talk about next for a little bit, and Quiet Side are all right there near the top. So I think these are the three that I like the most. Lucara, it's been so inconsistent, but I just like Christina, I love that last race, and I think we're all going to talk about her, so I don't want to do too much here. But Timeform US, as it's another angle, had that race so fast. I mean, she was flying early based on actual pace figures with track variance and everything that they use, so it was by far the fastest. So my concern and the reason I kind of went Quiet Side over her, even though I'm using them all, was just that there's so many horses that want to go here, and I think Lucara will be best if she makes the lead. Because when Lucara actually breaks clean, like you saw in the last, it was an absolute rocket. That was one of the best breaks I've ever seen. Like, that was just insane. So I'm hoping she makes the lead. It's just a matter of, like, as the competition stiffens and all these speed horses come together once, with, you know, a Baffert horse and some others in here, are they going to let her make the lead easy enough where she has something left? Because she was it's a little bit longer of a race, and she was kind of getting caught a little bit at the end, understandably so, because she went so fast. I don't think she'll have to go that fast, but you never know. Because, I mean, people get ideas in here. If you're long shot, somebody's going to fly. And I'm hoping that she breaks clean, makes the lead, love the horse, think she's fantastic. And then my one weird horse that for some reason I keep feeling like is going to get a piece, or like I hit a really big try by keying a third place horse a couple of years ago. And I feel like Quick Kick is the type that at a huge price could hit the board. And I can't exactly tell you why. I wish the horse would have taken more steps forward this year. But if you just like kind of look at the PPs for just a quick second, has faced, you know, most of the good horses and just kind of hasn't quite panned out. But if this pace falls apart, I mean, it's one of the horses that I think will benefit and I think could get a pretty nice trip. So I'm gonna kind of use a lot of Quick Kick in the third and fourth spot and have a couple. If I'm doing well enough on the day, I'll be alive. Just some crazy stuff to all four of these horses. So
Nice. I love hearing that. I love Quick Kick. I'll make a case for her in a little bit. You mentioned the odds. If we go back to the True Odds page for just a moment, just to show people how this works. First time seeing this, you go to the True Odds page and you have the actual morning line odds. You heard Scott mention that the odds are really low on Good Cheer. Her actual morning line odds are 6-5, but then you also have these other odds here, True Odds, which are presented by Racelens, based on the Racelens algorithm, what Racelens believes the odds should be. And then you have adjusted True Odds, which reflect different settings that you can account for. You can go into the back end and say, oh, I want to favor for one particular thing over another. You think that this is a race that, might potentially favor speed. So you could kind of lean more heavily on that as a variable, and it'll adjust the odds for you. So that's something you could play with when you're in race lens. Just wanted to mention that. There you go. There are some of the levers that you could mess with: speed, class, form, distance, jockey. So whatever variables you like and you want to kind of weigh more heavily, you can adjust them and they will be reflected in the adjusted true odds. But I do like how you can look at all those odds, including the morning line odds. You mentioned 6-5 on Good Cheer. The horse you like, Quiet Side, is 8-1. I think the truth is somewhere probably in the middle there. I don't know that Good Cheer is going to be 6-5, and I don't think Quiet Side is going to be 8-1. And then Lucara, the third horse you mentioned, who I know Dan Piazza wants to talk some more about, is 6-1 on the morning line. Dan, I'm going to want you to talk about Lucara, and I also want you to address what Scott mentioned, this concern that, she might get caught up in some sort of pace battle, or in some ways be in a situation where she can't get to the lead, which is maybe not playing to her best style.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I mean, a lot of the comments that Christina made, and then also what Scott said, I landed on Lucara last night myself. I look working the bullet workout at Churchill Downs, and as I go through Race Lens and I peruse the PPs and dig into it more, that loss in March at the Bonadale, that didn't really bother me. It was a one-turn mile, and I think Lucara is set better for 2 turns, and Christina mentioned that with out of street sense, out of a Bernardini mare, built for distance. I like the late speed profile, and I know that Scott pointed that out there on the Race Lens page, where it ranks 3rd. She's won at Churchill Downs 2 turns. That's important, I think. That's a real important fact. And I thought, as Christina mentioned, that the Aston was probably her best race. She's got tactical speed, and I know I agree with Scott with his concern. Can she get out to the lead? I hope so. In these races with this many horses, you never know who's going to stumble, what's going to happen, who's going to veer right, who's going to veer left. But I think she's got the tactical speed to get out and be on the front, or be right there off of it in a good spot, sort of clean and clear.
All right. And we know that obviously you come off winning the biggest handicapping contest in the country. The format of that contest is win place, and you're picking horses who are going to win races. Is that the way you approach a race like this? Are you just looking for a winner, or do you mess around with the exotics? How do you attack a race like this from a betting perspective?
On the Derby and the Oaks, I'll probably dive into a little bit of vertical betting, but most of the time I'm playing win bets, betting pick 3s, pick 5s, but I'm going horizontal. I seem to fare better at that because my underneath picking is not very strong. I can pick a winner, but I can't seem to pick who's going to come in 2nd or 3rd.
All right. So I shouldn't ask you for the exacta and trifecta in this race.
I had 4 horses there that I put underneath that I'm going to probably use. My notes are looking at. I mean, I like Simply Joking. I like I like the position. I like 5Gs. I watch a lot from Gulfstream. I figure Good Cheer is going to be there, and again, agreeing with Scott, I like Quiet Side.
That's interesting. So those actually
would be
picked
my 4 horses I'd be looking to play some exactas with, or maybe throwing them into a trifecta.
That's interesting. You actually landed on, I mean, at least to my eyes, the 4 or 5 horses who project to be the speed in the race. You're not going with any deep closers as far as I can tell. And I think that I want to say this because every time we do one of these shows, we handicap. And then, of course, the track profile day of is all speed, right? Like we're like, well, there's a lot of speed here. It's going to set up for this horse. And the way the tracks go on these weekends, speed usually gets to the front. It stays, it holds. Is that part of your mindset in picking these horses, or you just thought that those were the 5 best horses in the race?
No, using that as just a variable or factor into the input. I mean, if I've been watching the races over the weekend, I watched today. I'm going to the track there tomorrow, so we're going to be looking to see if speed holds or not, so that we're prepared for the weekend. But I know we had some rain here today. I think there's some more rain in the forecast, so things could absolutely change here with track conditions.
All right. Well, everybody watching, you should keep an eye on that as well. Obviously, monitor it. Take all of this with a grain of salt and adjust your bets and the way you're looking to structure your tickets based on the way the track's playing. So Scott mentioned a horse named Quick Kick. I am fascinated by this horse. As a 2-year-old, second in the Alcibiades, third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. If you look on the right side there, you got a couple of those red trouble indicators. That means that she had some sort of trip trouble. And for me, watching some of her replays this year, it wasn't so much the trouble, even though she got into a couple of, tough spots. It was really, the lack of pace in a couple of these races. One in that last race, it's a little hard to see the screen in the last race. Okay, there we go. They went a little faster early, except that track was super speed favoring. And she made really the only sustained move from off the pace. If you watch it, no one else was moving from the back, but she moved. And so I thought that was impressive visually. And then the race 2 back, which is the Honeybee, again, maybe the best sustained move from off the pace to finish 5th, which you're like, oh, 5th, that's not great. But again, speed favoring track, the top 4 finishers ran 1 through 4 all the way around. They went fast early. They slowed it down a little bit. But again, neither of those 2 races, those 2 tracks play to her strengths. She needs a lot of pace and she needs a little bit of a meltdown. Like we talked about, keep an eye on how the track is playing. If they're coming back to them on the front end, Quick Kick has to be on your ticket. She's 30-1. To my eyes, she's a 10-1 shot. I think she 100% hits the board if the track is playing fair and if the pace unfolds the way we think it will. Also want to mention Tom Amis trains this horse, won this race in 2019 with Serengeti Empress. He has not had a Kentucky Oaks starter since, so he's looking to go back-to-back, 6 years apart. So we'll see if he can do it. A little bit different, but we'll see if he can do it. So I do like Quick Kick, and Christina, I like Take Charge Milady as well. If she runs, I thought on paper, in terms of the closers, because I do project the pace is going to be pretty hot as well, I thought she would be right there late, and might be tough if she's completely sound and ready to go. So that's your Oaks overview. Christina, I know we've done a lot of talking since you last chimed in. Is there anyone else you want to mention? Anything else you want to put a little bow on the Oaks before we move on?
The only thing I'll say is that if you're taking a look at Thorograph, the Ashland came back pretty strong there as well. And if you look at Take Charge Milady in her last couple of starts, draw a line through the Honeybee with all that trouble that she had. And then Lucara, you could do a similar kind of scenario, draw a line through the 1-turn race at Gulfstream, and she's sitting on back-to-back 5s and really numbers that she could move forward off of, which I think puts her in a really good spot for the race this weekend. All
right. We're going to move to Saturday. We're going to have the 2 NHC champs duke it out on this one. They're both going to give us a little bit of input on the Churchill Downs Stakes, which is race 8, a really fun race. I believe they're going 7 furlongs. Your favorite is Mindframe, the 7 horse at 3-1. Just taking a peek at Dan's notes. No, Dan didn't pick Mindframe on top. Dan's giving us a little bit more value. Dan, how did you see this race unfolding?
Looking to try to beat the favorite or try to find value, as you're saying, Dan. In this race here, as I looked at Race Lens and sort of dove in a little bit more, I thought there was going to be a little bit more speed in the race, and I thought it was going to maybe set up for someone coming from the back or off the pace, and so I took Bookham Dano. And underneath, again, with my, I'm looking at Extron Yeho, Nisos, and Banishing. My notes, I look for recency. When I look back at the race and I watch the video and everything through Race Lens, I think that Bookham Dano was running at Colonial as a workout or a warm-up. Paco, there weren't many horses in the race. It was a small field. Paco ran him forward. I think Paco's going to keep him up forward like he did with the last race. My concern with Nisos, Bob Baffert's horse, it's coming back off of 15 months since its last start. But I still think there's a lot of horses with speed and pace in this race on paper, 2, 4, 7, 8. If you have those up on the race lens summary page, or sort of what I'm thinking are going to be more towards the front. I also believe that Mindframe, Nisos are going to take money, and I like that 8-1 sort of mid-range value pick. That's sort of where I play the NHC at. That's sort of my sweet. And some of Bookham Dano's losses, 2024 was a hard campaign for that horse. He did a lot of travel, a lot of races. I think that takes something out of the horse. When I look back at his record there, I thought he was kind of unlucky in the Perryville in October. I thought that, loss at the Saudi Cup to Forever Young, and Forever Young came to the Kentucky Derby last year as the, top Japan choice, but he only lost by a nose. At this distance, I think Bookham Dano's a distance specialist. He's a specialist for the 7 furlongs. 3 out of 5 wins, 5 out of 5 in the money. So that's who I think. That's who I want to, hang my hat on.
All right, we'll take that. I mean, from one Dan to another, Bookham Dano, that works. I mean, you talk about the campaign he had last year. I mean, winning the Woody Stevens. Then he goes to Monmouth, goes back to Saratoga, third in the Jerkins. I mean, great campaign last year. Like you said, it might have just been too much. Kind of got tired toward the end, obviously in the Cigar Mile, but came back with that sort of, what you like to see, right? A pretty easy spot, and it seemed to do it with ease. And so I'm all about that pick. Scott, where did you land here?
So I'm so excited to watch Nisos come back, and I really hope the horse improves. That horse is a freak. At least it was. I mean, had a setback, and then they couldn't go to the Derby anyway, obviously, because he was staying with Baffert, and they had to hit the bench. I can't imagine he wouldn't have been the Preakness favorite had he stayed healthy. And taking incredible amount of time off. And if it wasn't Bob Baffert, I'd be a little more worried. And I love Flavian. Obviously, he's my favorite. He needs to do a little bit better in the Kentucky circuit. But, I mean, there's just so much talent there that if the horse moves forward, you're going to see something crazy. It's a really tough race where I think about half the field could win. I mean, there's so many talented horses. I kept looking. I was like, why did I pick this race? Because, I mean, Mindframe, if Mindframe moves forward, Mindframe is going to be a freak. I mean, Dan just covered a couple other horses that, have every right to move forward. I mean, Bookham Dano, if he comes back fresh and, starts repeating some of that earlier form, he was a freak. I mean, my second choice in the race was actually Mulligan, who I think ran in some of the toughest grade 1 sprints last year. I mean, that horse is a freak. It's just going to be a very exciting horse race. I'm going all in on Nisos because I think that the horse has every right to move forward. But if the horse needs a race, obviously, I don't think Bob's sending him here to just give him a race, but I could be wrong. I mean, Christina, do you have any opinion on that part of the puzzle? Because that's your bread and butter there.
Yeah. No, Bob's coming back to Kentucky, and I think he wants to prove a point, right? I mean, he's got a couple prices in the Derby. They both have speed. One of them drew the rail. Nisos has been working consistently for almost 4 months. I mean, I just don't know how many times I looked at the races or thought, oh, he's going to show up here. He's going to show up there. He's ready. He's been ready for 2 months, this horse. So, I think Nisos is ready to fire really, really big. I like what you had to say about Mulligan, though, too, because that second to lock in the Cigar Mile looks really good. Seeing what we've seen from him. He's not a 6 furlong horse, and he ran third in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I think Mulligan is extremely talented. He's 2 for 2 at Churchill. He might be the horse that you actually do get that 7-2 on, because so much money will go to Nisos, so much money will go to Mindframe. He's one I think you have to include too.
Yeah, especially with the Netflix show and the Mindframe connections. I mean, they're gonna take some money. My next question for you, Christina, is did Flavian have his choice of Mulligan and Nisos? Because he obviously rode Mulligan
yeah.
all.
100%. Yes, I'm sure. I mean, I haven't asked him, but that's a good call because Rudy Brisset, they go back a long way. Those two, both from France, very, very good friends. And I think this horse doesn't fit the bill, but I think time and time again, you've seen Pratt ride a horse for Rudy that he probably wanted to choose someone else out of loyalty. And in this case, he went with Nisos because he wants to stick with this horse through the year.
I mean, yeah, man, I'm sure they have, like, if this goes well, a couple of the races and that goes well, we're thinking Breeders' Cup, right? I mean, like, so I don't know. That's the most exciting thing on the card for me is just to see how Nisos comes back. But there are so many horses that can win the race. I don't want to steer people in the wrong direction. I'll be singling, but I'm also crazy. So that's just what I'm really excited to watch. That's where I landed.
So anyone watching thought that they were here to get handicapping advice from you, Scott. You're actually here to just ask Christina questions. This is the time
I
for
mean,
you and
you have my
Christina.
number.
I get an hour and I gotta use it. I mean, she's a wealth of information. She has breakfast with everybody out there.
That's right. Those are good questions. Those are really good questions. I mean, especially the jockey question. That is interesting. Let me just ask one more question. This is for the room, whoever wants it. What do we make of Banishing? I mean, this horse is seemingly, I mean, there's no bad races. David Jacobson is the trainer. Not someone we've seen on big race days for a while. Obviously dominant in New York for many years, and I think he's hitting a couple of places now. He's got a little bit of a history himself. Anybody like this horse in this spot in particular?
I'll jump in. I think he's obviously a very versatile horse, but I think if I'm going to isolate his 7 furlong form, he hasn't beaten horses like this yet. I mean, this is tougher at 7 furlongs, and it's such a specialist distance that you kind of need to be a Nisos, a Mulligan in this spot.
Okay. All right. I think everyone else is choosing to remain silent on this one, so I'll take the silence as not interested.
Time form has the horse on top, so there obviously are pace reasons and trip reasons to like the horse. I just don't think, none of those Oaklawn races scream out like that he's going to race like this on a cutback, like Christina just mentioned. I mean, the flat mile was a great race, the mile on the 16th. I mean, but 7 furlongs, I mean, that's a different game, so we'll see. I mean, that's why we run the race.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting spot, right? I mean, the horse is running really well, going a mile on the 16th at Oaklawn, and then you choose this really salty 7 furlong race. I mean, that's odd, right?
It's interesting. I don't know what to make of that one.
It feels like a Breeders' Cup race, doesn't it? I mean, this race,
insane.
like this feels like the dirt mile.
Yeah, this is a really, really crazy race. And I believe, based on the Netflix special, Mindframe's target is the Met Mile. I'd assume some others have aspirations of the Met Mile, unless you're going to move up. Like, I don't know what Nisos' plan is, because we'll have so many options if Nisos runs and comes back off the screen. Sometimes Bob will run back like a 7 furlong race, but his intention is for 2 turns down the road. So I don't know where they're going to go with that, but it's going to be crazy to see what comes out of this race. This could be a key race all year.
Yeah, I mean, wow. I didn't consider the Netflix effect on Handicap. I don't know if it's too early or if we might see some of it, but I've got
more than that. There's a lot of social media impact, and there's going to be some interesting stuff going on this weekend, betting wise. Yeah. There always is, though.
No doubt. All right, let's go to race 10. That is the Derby City Distaff. Christina, you're up.
Yeah, another very good race. Another race where we're talking about 7 furlong horses, and I think there's plenty of directions that you could go in here. And I might just sound like I'm rooting for the home team, but I think Coppian is really intriguing for Richard Mandela. A big part of it is just because he doesn't ship very often. He doesn't put a horse on a plane without the intention of really coming home a winner. He's very conservative, and he's one that really enters with intention every single time. And I think if he's willing to ship her here to run on Derby Day, he has high hopes. We can take a look at her last race in the Santa Monica, and it was really impressive. Now, there weren't very many others that she was taking on, only a 4-horse field. Powered Away is the comment line that you see out there, and I'm going to just pick it up from the quarter pole home, really. She outclassed this group. Hope Road is a nice horse. She's going to come back in here to take her on again. But this filly is 3 for 3 at the distance. She's clearly tactical. She's shown throughout her career that she can rate and relax just a little bit if she needs to. I think there's some other speed in the group that might challenge her, but she's also drawn in post position too. So if Kazushi Kimura wants to go ahead and put her on the lead, I think he's going to be able to do that. And this was just, a kind of hands and heels type of ride. Never went to the stick, never had to ask her for much. She's 4.5 lengths clear, Antonio Frezu, in the saddle in that race that you just took a look at. In terms of her form overall, we can go back to the form. She has the highest Equibase speed figure for that race that you just looked at. And again, this is really easy if you're kind of a new to Racelands player. Some of the information is just highlighted. It's right there for you. You see all those numbers highlighted from her last race. Lots of other green on the page just with regard to Richard Mandela and kind of his horses that won their last start come back at 20%. Horses in stakes races, 21%. All of those numbers are right there very clearly for you. And then I also found it really interesting to take a look at the pace projector in here, because for a horse that should be pretty forwardly placed, if not on the lead, she also has the fastest late pace figure if you filter for late pace. So a horse that is going to be close, a horse that can power away in the late stages, and she can finish, she likes the distance. 8-1. I don't know if we get that, to be honest, Dan. I think a lot of people that I've talked to in the last couple of days are really on this horse coming up this weekend. So she'll be the runner for me. I love Ways and Means. She's in the race as well. She was my Kentucky Oaks pick last year, obviously at a much different distance, but I just think she has a lot of class, and she's another horse that has proven that class time and time again on the racetrack. But I'll go with Kopi, and I'll go with the California horse out here in Kentucky.
Well, if she does end up being short, I'll give you an exacta. And Dan mentioned a little while ago kind of keeping an eye out for horses who have won over the track. Specifically, I think you mentioned going longer, but at the 7 furlong distance over this track, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a better horse than Bava. The 7 horse, 4 for 4 for Cherie DeVoe at Churchill Downs. Some big races, won the Derby City Distaff last year easily. So the 7 horse Bava, I think, is I don't know how she could be left off a ticket. Now, she hasn't raced since the Filly and Mare Sprint last year, but she's working lights out. I think she's going to be super, super tough. So I can see those two horses being, 1 and 2 in some form, especially with your endorsement. I'm now even more confident in that. But yeah, it's a fun race. Anyone else have an opinion in this race, or you guys can give me the nah if you didn't look at this race yet?
I looked a little. I like the ones you guys have mentioned.
Yeah.
I like Scylla or Skilla. I don't know how you say the horse's name. I never.
Scylla sounds right.
But my issue there, honestly, is Rosario's just been in a bit of a slump. So not confident in a horse in a slump on the rail. So that's my issue there. But I have to look more at the race. I definitely don't. Yeah, the horse Christina talked about. I definitely don't think 8-1. But if you do, that'd be nice. That's a good bet.
Dan, were you going to jump in?
I haven't looked at the race yet, Dan, so I can't comment on it.
No, all good. Best to not comment if you haven't had a chance to look yet. And we should say again, we are recording this a little bit before race day, so we wanted to get this up as soon as possible so you could factor these thoughts into your handicapping. So the races that we have spent the most time on, obviously, are the showcase races, including the Oaks, which we spent a good bit of time on, and the Kentucky Derby, which we're going to jump into right now. Before we do, I just want to mention again, if you missed it at the top, this is the best time to get into Racelands. The best promos you're going to find all year. 3-month subscription, $99. I mean, $33 a month. You can't beat that. You go to Equibase.com, add it to your cart, and use promo code TCRL99. So if you like what you're seeing, no reason not to do that right now. All right, this is your field. Race 12, Kentucky Derby. I think this is just, we say it every year. Wow, this is such a great race. Obviously, there's 20 horses. this is, I think, one of the more, you're either team journalism and you think that he's the best horse in the field and he towers over them, or anybody can win this race. I haven't heard anyone with any real confidence say this horse is 100% winning, except for journalism, which tells me that it's either him or it's any combination of horses that can come out. So I cannot wait to hear what each of you has to say about this. Christina, I think you are the person to lead us off, at least according to my notes. You're the one kicking us off here. So no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. So I'll say this. We did our Handicappers preview show today, and it's not always a bad thing to like the favorite in the Kentucky Derby. 10 of the last 13 years, the favorite has run first or second. And the point that Jose Contreras, who works with us, made was, rather than taking your money and betting to win in place, take that same $19 and play the exacta each way with the field. Because, for example, the Epicenter year, that exacta returned $2,000 with a long shot on top. So if you like journalism, there's ways to mask that play into other pools and to use him to your advantage. I'm going to be really honest. It's Tuesday. I still can't decide between sovereignty and journalism. So I'm hoping that by the time we're done here, I can make a selection, because they've been texting me all day for my videos for FanDuel to put up on our website. Let's start with sovereignty really quickly, and I won't take too much time because I think everybody needs to get through, all of the horses that they like. With sovereignty, there's a lot to like about this horse. He has a win at Churchill Downs, and I think if you just open that chart from the Street Sense really quickly, it's interesting to me how a horse like this and a couple of these others that come out of the race, Tistastic finishing second, Sandman finishing third, this was a race that offered points, and you hope that the Street Sense is going to be very impactful for the Kentucky Derby. But these are horses that are bred for classic distances. So for them to have been so forward at 2 years old and to have won or placed in this race and then still to be back here in the race on the first Saturday in May, I think is really exceptional. It's a real kind of feather in the cap of the horsemen that have brought them to this point. I think if you also just look at that race, and whenever people have time, Sovereignty powered clear by 5 lengths. I mean, I know he's been good this year, but he clearly loves Churchill Downs, and you have to love that about him coming into the race. He's also a horse that on Thorograph looks really strong in his last few races. He's run a 1 in both the Fountain of Youth and the Florida Derby. Those races coming back in pretty quick succession. He's had 5 weeks since then. I think he moves forward quite a bit. And then back to that Bernardini mare kind of stat line that I mentioned earlier. Sovereignty is out of a Bernardini mare by the name of Crown. Other horses that fit this profile, Immersive, Chancer McPatrick, these are pedigrees that are really thriving, and a pedigree that is designed for the Kentucky Derby. We've interviewed Bill Mott a lot this week, and he sounds really, really confident in Sovereignty. My only concern with him, and I just keep watching him a lot this week, and maybe this is why I haven't made my decision, he gets very hot on race day. He gets really warm. He did that in the Florida Derby. He's been doing it in the morning here. I haven't seen him school yet, but there's a part of me that's worried that he's going to completely lose it on race day, that the atmosphere is going to be too much, that a horse that just runs so warm like that isn't going to be able to keep it together, and that he's not going to run his race. I am not in the least bit worried about journalism losing it. I think he's bomb-proof. And that's what we used to say when you were trying to buy like a pony when you were a little kid. This pony's bomb-proof, meaning you could put any kid on the pony, you could have anything going on around them, and nothing's going to scare them. They're not going to run off. They're not going to take off. That's the kind of horse that I think journalism really is. On the pace projector, second fastest in terms of late pace. I think looking at his last couple of races in the San Felipe and in the Santa Anita Derby, it's very clear when journalism narrows in and hones in on the horse that he has to run down. He runs as fast as he needs to get in front. He ran, faster in the San Felipe because I think Barnes was the better horse and really kind of dragged them along that day. He ran well to beat Piazza, who got the jump on him, and he had trouble in the race. I love everything I'm seeing from journalism. I can't knock him at all. I did pull an angle for Michael McCarthy. I tried to get really specific with this one just to try and think about him with 3-year-old dirt route male horses in stakes races. We know that, he and Rispoli are very, very strong, but if you go through that specific angle, You get 36% winners from Michael McCarthy, 3-year-old dirt route stakes races. I filtered again for the entire field, and I expected Bob Baffert to be higher or to be stronger in that category. And McCarthy actually was the highest outside of Lonnie Briley. And Lonnie Briley's statistic only includes Cole Battle. So not quite fair to kind of use that in terms of the comparison. So back and forth between those two. The last horse I do want to mention is Rodriguez. I found it really interesting how Racelands in the pace projector and on those, percentages, they give Rodriguez such a big chance that I wanted to take a little bit of a closer look at him. I think there's a lot of horses that want to be involved in terms of the pace. He's going to be up there, but some horses just really run for some jockeys, and he's one of those horses you have to leave alone, drop your hands, let him be comfortable. Mike Smith does that. So I won't pick Rodriguez on top, but it just wouldn't surprise me if he's part of the pace and if he holds on. He could be one of those horses that you need in the super. He could be a horse that you need in the try. But still, by the end of tonight, maybe you guys can talk me into either sovereignty or journalism.
I'm looking at journalism and I'm thinking, March 1st was the date of the San Felipe. And that morning, Vegas had Barnes as the favorite to win the Kentucky Derby, even though we hadn't really seen much from Barnes to date. And the way he blew past him there and the way he ran back to the Santa Anita Derby, it seems like common sense, right? What more do we need to see from journalism? But the knock is there were small fields. He didn't really have to encounter any traffic trouble, that sort of thing. How do you factor for that? It's just sort of, visually you see enough to say.
No, I absolutely think it's a concern. I'll say that if you look back at the Santa Anita Derby, he had that trouble at the 3/8 pole. My first concern in watching the race was how did the jock get him in trouble in such a short field? That was a worry. But then we watched it from the drone replay. And actually, it was Flavien Prat race riding him and burying him into the rail before he made his move. So that gave me a little bit more comfort. I think journalism is a horse that has shown his athleticism and he can overcome trouble. But I don't think he's one like California Chrome that accelerates, like Justify that accelerates. I don't think he's a horse you can get into too much trouble in a 20-horse field and that he towers over this group like some of those other favorites from years past have.
Yeah, that's sad. Yeah, it sounds fair. Scott, how about you? How are you looking at this?
So I'm one of those people that is journalism or bust. So that'll be a nice pick 5 single. I'll NISO start it, journalism to finish it, or else I'm probably done. Unless I'm doing so well that I'm alive to my B's and C's. But it'll be exciting. Allow me to use a lot of horses in between. We didn't actually end up watching the replay, but what she was talking about, it caught my eye as well. That gives me a little more reassurance with the drone angle. I liked how the horse just overcame it. And just got stopped. And a lot of horses, this is like to have the late pace this one does, and to be able to overcome that, you're not dealing with this like deep closer. You're dealing with a horse that just has athleticism. Maybe not as crazy as like some of the others that she mentioned, but like just enough to be in a spot and overcome a few things, and weave through if you need to. Is just super competitive and has all the late pace to go with it, but isn't going to be coming from the clouds. And there's more speed to be had if you really need it. The horse will do whatever you want. That's like it just seems so professional for this group, and just seems to lay over the field in anything you want. It's not like a fierceness where you're worried about the horse getting cooked in a duel, like kind of what happened, or just not having it for the day. Like there's so many less, things that I'm worried about with this horse as far as where my money's going. And I just don't think it's close as far as if all things are equal, which they aren't ever on Derby Day, but if all things are equal and the horse doesn't get absolutely just destroyed by someone or anything happens, I just think no matter where the horse is sitting will give you a fair run and just has, if the horse gets better, it doesn't even need to get better. It's already, I just think, lays over the field, depending on how you look at the figures. But I was listening to an actual interesting opinion. I don't know if you guys are familiar with in the media company, like has Sean Borman on a lot, and he set the BCBC record 2 years ago for betting. And he said he makes his own figures, and he said this is the best late pace he's seen from a 3-year-old in the Derby since Justify. That's how he thinks of this horse.
Yeah.
And I trust his numbers. I mean, he makes figures. He, if you get a chance to listen to that after this, it's a good one. So that gave me even more confidence. I mean, like I said, there's so many people that are singling journalism. There's so many people that are, like Dan kind of mentioned earlier, picking a number of different ways, and we'll get into all the craziness that could happen. I mean, with the betting pools, but I'll use a lot of B's, but I just don't want to waste any money in my A's outside of journalism. So that's where I'm going to go. I really like Rodriguez as well. I wish Citizen Bull wasn't in the one hole, because now that kind of forces his hand, because I wanted to see Rodriguez go for the lead. Still could, right? There's so many things that can happen from the one. Any hesitancy, any misbreak, anything that goes wrong, Mike Smith will look around, doesn't see him. But I mean, you're not going to run each other into the ground, because it's not only the same trainer, but it's the same owner, correct? I'm not wrong on that, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little different than just having two from the same trainer. You're trying to win for your owner.
Mm-hmm.
You have a team of owners as well, so that makes it a little trickier in what you're willing to do to win the race. But I trust Mike always, and if he finds himself out there and it's an easy lead, I mean, if Rodriguez gets the lead, I'll be pretty excited for what he could possibly do. Kind of like when they left Authentic out there, and it got away from me real quick, and Tiz the Law was the best horse sitting back there and just didn't get there. I mean, I could see that situation, but not going to use on top as much, but I will have some backups with Rodriguez. I like Grande, who I think will be overbet because of the Rapoli situation. Like I said, I think
Netflix.
Yeah, that, and just like he brings I think he's bringing 20 less people this year, but he brings like 80 people with. I mean, there's just so much money. There's so much stuff. Like, I don't think you're getting the price of the morning line, lightly raced. Those kind of horses have been getting me in trouble lately. There's very few that have actually done really well in the Derby that have like the lightly raced resume. But this horse seems to have a lot of talent, and I wouldn't be surprised if it takes another step forward. Tiz-Tastics, and very interesting closer to me, along with Sovereignty. I mean, both of them, I think, have a lot of interesting scenarios with all the speed that is drawn in this race. It's crazy how much speed is drawn inside. Plus, you have, Owen Almighty and a couple others that are going to have to try to cross over, and it's going to be interesting to see who's willing to go to the lead at all costs and who's not. But there's a lot of them that want the lead. So. And you also have a Japanese horse in there that's unknown in the 6, Admire Daytona. And I don't know. It's a tricky one, but normally it's not as fast as you think. But the way this is drawn, it might be pretty fast. I mean, there is so much speed in the top 7 horses or top 6, sorry, that I like a lot of the ones that can finish. And I think a lot of the best horses can finish. Rodriguez is the one super speed horse that I think could stay. And Time Form agrees, as Christina mentioned. And then the other one I'll mention is Luxor Cafe. I don't think Luxor Cafe is as good as like Forever Young or some of the others. And I've listened to a lot of people talk about the figures, and it's possibly not as high, but we don't have as much to go off of because the last 2 races there haven't been any American horses there to like kind of for all the figure makers to make a baseline. So you're just so unknown here. But I've heard enough intelligent people like Luxor Cafe that I am not willing to leave Luxor Cafe completely out of it. So those are the ones I'll go with. I'll be using others underneath. I mean, these are just kind of like my win threats, but it's going to be an interesting race. But I'm journalism on the top, and then I'll have a bunch of backups.
So Dan, I think had waited long enough. He's like, you know what? Waited for you guys. I waited. I'm done. No, Dan will be back, I'm sure, in a minute or so. It's interesting. His top pick is a horse that neither of you have mentioned, and who's also the most famous horse on social media from this Kentucky Derby field.
That's why I didn't mention. The horse is going to take so much money. It's going to be ridiculous. You have a TikTok influencer with 10 million followers. You have Metallica getting involved this morning now because of Enter Sandman. Like, it's getting out of control. I mean, the horse is going to be the second choice.
Well, let Dan make his case. I mean, Dan make the case.
I am. Like, the horse is going to be the second choice in the betting pool. It's going to be worse than My Boy Jack.
All right. Well, with that set up, Dan, tell us about Sandman.
It's crazy.
Can you hear us, Dan? Are you frozen?
I can hear you now.
Okay,
Absolutely,
great.
absolutely. And yeah, I mean, you know what Scott and Christina both said. I think journalism is absolutely the horse to beat. I like journalism, but I'll absolutely, you know, try to take a swing with a horse that I've been following since the OBS sale in March of 24, and that's Sandman. When we were down there looking at horses for our barn, I mean, we all agreed that that was the best looking 2-year-old that we saw. Followed him, you know, throughout all of 24 into 20, you know, 25. I've got a nice futures bet on him. You know, West Point purchase. I mean, I just like everything about Sandman, so I can't leave him off my tickets. Will I have tickets with journalism on them? Absolutely. I think journalism is the real deal, the horse to beat. I believe journalism is better than sovereignty. If Christina is looking for, you know, opinions coming from anybody else, I mean, that's the way I look at it. I do like Rodriguez, Citizen Bull, and if Baeza gets in, there's another dimension that'll be coming to the race here, and we'll have to see how that horse is going to, you know, play in. I think, I mean, I've heard everybody talk, but it's going to be a hot pace. That's why I think Sandman will have a chance to, you know, to make a run at it. I think the Arkansas Derby was the best prep out of all the prep races that we looked at. I know he got bumped 2 or 3 times. Everybody's saying that it was an easy trip. I like his big long strides. His pedigree screams 10 furlongs. And you know, that's I just can't bet the favorite. I mean, I'll bet the favorite, but it's just hard for me to, you know, just single on that favorite. So I've got to go with some other ticket with some value on it. And Sandman's going to be my play. And I agree with Scott. He's going to take a lot because of this whole influencer and everything that's going on with, you know, X.
Unless the 17 curse overtakes it in
The
the
17
storyline,
curse. We got to mention that too.
which is so hard for me because it's my favorite number by far. If I play roulette, I only play the 17. I bet the 17 blindly every year just for fun, and it's unbelievable what happens to 17 horses.
Well, if there happens to be a scratch between now and I think it's Friday morning at 10 a.m., Sandman will no longer be in the 17 post. He'll be in the 16.
But that's it's just like the number 17 in general. I don't think it's ever won. It's just like it's the cloth.
Is it? I think. Yeah, I don't think has the numbers. Oh, Christina, I mean,
I think it's
you're
the
a
only
historian,
one.
aren't you?
Yeah.
You know, you would know better than we would.
I think it's the gate, right? The spot.
I thought it was the
That's
gate.
what I thought. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be better then. But I thought it was the number 17 in general. I've never seen a number 17 win.
We talked about the pace a little bit on our preview show today, and over the last several years, we set the line at 46-3. Are you taking the over or taking the under on that with the pace that we have in this race?
I'd say under.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I think it's going to be under. I mean, American Promise, if you believe the splits from Colonial Downs, ran a half in 45-1.
Yeah, but the filly, like fondly, went that fast too, so I don't believe it.
And 3/4 in 108-1. We believe that.
Yeah.
And then drew off by 7 3/4. I mean, yeah. Well, look, I mean, the horse is fast anyway, and I think to your point, Scott, I mean, it adds to that first 7-horse mix. Neo Equus is a horse who I thought was fast, but I don't think he's going to be able to keep up with these horses.
Sounds like they're not going to try now. I mean, based on what Safi's saying, I think they want to get a piece, and I don't think he thinks his horse is good enough to win. Is what he said.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah.
They're not gonna...
So I don't think he's going to go for the lead now. I think he's going to be up there, but I think he wants to kind of get that looking at Lee, whatever type trip where you just kind of, you know, try to pick up a check is what it sounds like. I don't.
Yeah, and I thought interestingly looking at Racelands, like he might have been the fastest horse if he really wanted to extend it and gun away from there too. But I think they are going to take a hold.
Mm-hmm. Can we look at that the pace projector real quick? I'm just wondering who you know, how they have them stacked across there. So it is Neo Equus.
Another feature in Racelands, you can click the little eyeball and take the 21 out unless they draw in. It's another feature that's kind of cool about Racelands. Just for the viewers, if you click it next to the name, you just get them off the pace structure for now.
There it is. Yep.
And hopefully for their next feature, they let me move them around because that's what I want to do. But
The 12 is a horse. Right? I mean, another one with some speed.
Yeah.
I mean, East Avenue is only one on the lead, right? I mean, East Avenue. What are they going to do? Rate East Avenue? That hasn't worked.
Well, I know, and they're same with, I mean, Owen Almighty, but I think it sounds like the connections with Owen Almighty are willing to rate since they're coming over from the 20, but it's still going to add like an extra dimension of someone crossing over. I mean, you got a lot of people coming over to that inside.
Yeah, I
It's
think
going to be
East Avenue is
fascinating.
going to send too. They don't have any other choices with him, kind of at this point, right? They're sending East Avenue.
I think so.
They have to, yeah.
And Citizen Bull's got to go. Yeah, I mean, it's just, and I don't know. The Japanese horse was on the lead in that, and that horse was last race, the 6th.
In Meyer Daytona, yeah, he was on the front end in the UAE Derby. So
it's gonna be interesting. 46-3. I mean, if I had to bet it right now, I'd probably take under.
So let me give you guys two other horses to consider. And I will say, just because of America's Best Racing's association with Sandman and Griffin Johnson, the influencer who we mentioned, I went in sort of thinking, all right, it's going to be Sandman. Like I've been, like Dan, except, I had no designs on buying any horses at OBS, which, by the way, Dan, I'm disappointed you couldn't muster $1.3 million to buy Sandman. I mean, come on. You were right there with 1.2 million. But yeah, I think for me, I went in thinking, all right, Sandman to me has been the horse I'm most connected with. I loved his run in the Arkansas Derby. If we could pull that race up real quick. And then when I went in handicapping, I ended up with two horses I did not expect to be on at all. One of whom is the horse that Sandman beat in the Arkansas Derby, and that is Publisher, who is the number 3 horse, I believe, in the Arkansas Derby. We could really just go to, if possible, we could go to the, maybe like just before they go into the turn, because you'll see Sandman kind of get, the jump, make this really sweeping move as they head into the turn and just start passing horses one by one. Sandman's the gray back there, the 6 horse. So you'll see him. He's making his move now. There he is. So he's just about to hit the front, and Publisher's right behind him. Look, watching this live, I was like, okay, Sandman's going to kick clear. It's done. But you can see here, Sandman's a little erratic. Obviously, he's a tap it. He gets that left-handed whip, and he bolts here. And it really, look, I don't know that Publisher was getting to him, but I think but look at him here. I mean, he's still, he's right. I mean, he's not really losing ground to Sandman, and he did have to sort of steady and readjust himself as Sandman came out. So for me, at the very least, I feel like it would have been a closer finish. And for Publisher, he's a horse who's just figuring things out. Sandman has been figuring things out. Like he has faced his adversity and then took that next step. Publisher's a horse who has not only faced adversity there, but also faced adversity in his race in the Southwest. In the Southwest, he also got squeezed on the rail and really had almost stumbled and fell. It was a really bad thing. He lost 2 or 3 lanes and then came back on. And so if you get a chance, watch that replay as well. Publisher to me just seems to have a higher ceiling at this moment. The last 3 speed figures there, you can see all going up, 89, 90, and the big jump to 100 last out, the Equibase speed figure. You get that red trouble indicator in the Rebel in the Southwest. I mentioned to you some of the trouble in the Southwest. So if you get a chance, just watch that. It was American Promise, actually, who cut him off on the rail. And he was moved up to 6 via disqualification because of that incident. And the last thing I want to show you on Publisher, again, a horse I did not think I was gonna land on as my top pick for the Kentucky Derby at 30-1. We did some research here past 5 years, looking specifically at anywhere from a mile and 3/16 to a mile and a quarter. And American Pharaoh is the standout stallion for producing runners who run at that distance. 62% in the money. 62% of the money. I mean, 2 out of every 3 horses essentially that Pharaoh has produced who has run this distance in the past 5 years on the dirt have hit the board, and a couple of them I believe finished 4th, so that number could be should be a little bit higher. So if you're looking based on at least sire stallion pedigree, American Pharaoh, who's also the sire of the 7 Luxor Cafe, is one who's at least showing promise, at this distance, or at least has shown, to produce, horses who could perform at this distance. So Publisher for me is like a clear-cut top pick, which I know sounds insane, but
Maiden.
Yeah, and he's a maiden. I know. I know. But so the last time a maiden tried this is a horse that I spent so much money chasing. I should learn was Bodie Express. And then as if the Derby wasn't enough, I went right back for more in the Preakness. And of course he tossed Johnny at the gate. So I love that horse. I feel like Publisher, this is the beginning of a very long and painful love affair. And we're going to see how it turns out. But for me, it's Publisher on top. The other horse who I did not expect to like at all, I was like, I don't even know why I'm watching the Jeff Ruby Stakes. Like, what am I doing? Like, why am I watching a replay of the Jeff Ruby Stakes? Watch the replay, and I look at Final Gambit, and I'm like, wow. Like, I know they're racing on an all-weather track, and this is not the best field in the world, but watch that replay. Watch his prior race. This horse moves differently late. He is just, he like consumes ground. He has an insane closing kick where, again, like Publisher, he's going to benefit from a hot pace. And from this draw, as we know, everyone around him is going right to the front. He's going to be right behind them. So he's going to be able to save ground. The challenge is going to be, once they start backing up into him, he's going to have to obviously find a way to kind of move around them at some point. But he should be able to save ground for a considerable portion of the race. Again, only 4 starts here, high ceiling. We haven't seen the best of him yet, and what I've seen so far I love. I don't think his pedigree precludes him from taking to the dirt. It's a not this time, and who's on the damn
He has
side?
a dirt route winning sibling. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then you think not this time. I think not this time is the most versatile stallion in the game. If he can get a horse like Next, who is a marathon dirt router, and also Cogburn, who's the fastest turf sprinter in the world, like what else do you want to see from one stallion?
It's crazy.
Yeah, Final Gambit screams to me like wants to run 2 miles. So I think as they're all tiring, Final Gambit's still going to be moving. And the Jeff Ruby, by the way, it's turned into like a sneaky good prep. We've had a couple
you're supposed to take third in it.
What's that? Yeah, if you finish third, right? If you finish third, you're better, right? Rich Strike. 2 fills also, right? Came out of the Ruby. The maiden special weight win on February 15th. If you get a chance to watch that race as well, he was completely off the screen turning for home, and he only appears like in the last 3 seconds of the race. He's basically last in a field of 11, and then just decides to start running and just absolutely just pass. Also the horses in front of him decided to stop running, but he really just consumes them, and it's incredible to watch visually. Look, it might just be a byproduct of the competition he's running against. I realize that this is a much different test, but look, if people are going to take a shot with Luxor Cafe at like 8-1, not knowing what Luxor Cafe was in against, I'm willing to take a shot on Final Gambit at 50-1. Not knowing what he was in against, or at least assuming
if he gets a hold of the track, I'm right there with you. Like I love watching those replays, and I love the Jeff Ruby. I think when you look at horses when they accelerate, there's sort of 2 different ways that they accelerate. They either accelerate by lengthening their stride over stride, or they accelerate with turnover, and it's a faster stride, right? I think traditionally, dirt horses are that turnover. But if he runs with the same kind of confidence and can grab Churchill the way he does on that synthetic, he'll come flying too. And as you've talked about, we've all talked about, there's going to be a hot pace. He's a horse I think you have to throw in on your superfectas too, because you'll get that price.
Yeah, if you get a chance to watch him over the track, obviously, like I don't know if he's not going to probably do much at this point over the track. But if you see him, or if you see any videos of any of his works, let me know what you think.
I will. I haven't seen him yet. I worry that he reminds me too much of Endlessly, because Endlessly had that big, long, beautiful, same thing in the Jeff Ruby, and then he ran like 9th in the Derby or something.
I worry that Machado, maybe I didn't hear it, Right, but like I was listening to a podcast and they said Machado said that this horse doesn't like to be in between horses.
Oh, well, that's great.
That's not a great draw for a horse that doesn't like to be in between horses. But
oh boy,
in the clear, that's I mean, because he went 6 wide in that Ruby Stakes, right? I mean, kind of has to with the running style. So I mean, it just adds a new element to a trip when you don't like to be in between horses, and the horse is uncomfortable in between horses when you're drawing from the 3. So like that's my concern. But
he's only going to be in between horses for 1.2 seconds, and then
he's
going to be alone on the rail.
Yeah, you can find a way.
Back.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, he's going to be 30 lengths behind on the rail.
I was just like,
too late to call Brian Hernandez.
Yeah, seriously,
Exactly.
somebody.
Hey there.
Oh my God, Dan! Any final thoughts before we start to wrap things up? Dan, do you still have us? Dan may not be getting us. Do you guys hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah.
I got you now. I'm back.
Oh, there you go. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up? I think we dropped out again.
I just think it's going to be a heck of a race.
Oh, there we go.
I mean, it's either journalism or somebody else, but it's going to be a heck of a derby.
All right, Scott.
Just hone in on your opinions and think about your bets. Something that I try to work on every year, and I'm still not great at it, but I continue to try to get better at just not betting, having like a billion tickets trying to cover everything. Just kind of be confident in your opinion and make sure that if, kind of like what Christina said, if you like the favorite, bet it every way so that if something crazy happens, but your favorite is keyed in like the right spot at first, second, third, however you want to do it, that you're getting paid on a day like this because everything overpays. I mean, it's always obnoxious with how much dead money is in these pools. So just take advantage of it and just hone in on your opinion and make sure you get paid.
Well, so let's just assume for a second that I'm opening the #1 sportsbook app in America, FanDuel, and I just deposited a ton of money, or I just won a ton of money, and I'm working with, let's just say for this example, $500. What is a simple $500 bet you would make at this moment on the Kentucky Derby on the FanDuel app?
Well, I mean, I would try to get as much coverage as I could, and I'm going to single Nisos, and I'm going to single on the
just in the Derby. Give me one Derby bet.
Oh man, I'm terrible at that.
You love verticals. Come on.
Not really. I've gotten lucky a couple of times, but I'm a horizontal guy.
I know. Come on.
I would say if I had to do it right now, I would key journalism in the first spot of the try. I would try to get a lot of coverage in third, and then in second, I would be using, some of the horses I named, but weight them. Just kind of like take every combination on a piece of paper and weight them based on what you think the exacta price is, and then what the try could pay, and kind of go down the line and make sure that you're kind of equalizing your money if you think they have an equal chance. So, and a lot of the horses we've talked about, I feel like I'll use in second. But you don't want to go nuts. And third and fourth start getting a little wacky. But just kind of, whether you go your top choice with like journalism and a couple horses and then all on some, because I mean, it doesn't cost that much with the 50-cent tries or however.
You got $500 to play with. You're fine.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would write out your opinions and kind of exactly make sure if you drew out a result in your head, what it's going to be, make sure that's like the hardest part is like you start firing off all these bets and then you look back and you're like, wow, I was right, but I didn't get paid that much because take time constructing your tickets, write them down and kind of make sure that if the top ones do well of what you think is going to happen, that you have enough weighting dollar-wise on those. Because for me, I'm going to have to put more money on those top-weighted ones because I'm using the favorite in first. But, kind of have an idea of who you're putting in second, because if you're going favorite, you need to bet a lot more on that combination versus some of the others. I mean, that's my advice.
All right, Dan, I don't know if you can hear us at the moment, but if you can, how would you bet $500 on the FanDuel Sportsbook app right now?
Then the Derby again, I'd be making a win bet, and in this case, I'd probably be Dutching it somewhere between Sandman and journalism, and I'm for sure in this Kentucky Derby going to bet trying an exacta and a super. Super is going to be one of your richest bets that are going to pay there. So I'd be singling. I'd probably have 2 tickets. I'd be singling journalism on one, and I'd be singling Sandman on the other. On the Super, I'm always worried about fourth place because anything can happen. So a lot of times we use the all button for fourth. But then again, I'm going to use the horses that I like in those second and third spots. And it was I like that Luxor Cafe. And just going back to my notes, Sovereignty's got to be there. Rodriguez has got to be there. Citizen Bull's got to be there, and Baeza if he gets in the race.
All right. We didn't
And
mention
so
much
I'd be
Burnham.
splitting it up. Pardon me?
No, go. I just said we hadn't mentioned Burnham Square at all. I didn't know if nobody really mentioned him much. I was wondering if you would use him on your tickets.
I would not. I tossed him.
Okay.
I would. I like him. I think he's coming around. I think his better days might still be ahead because it seems like Ian Wilkes is really figuring him out. But if he puts it together, and with Brian Hernandez, I mean, until last year, he's one of the most underrated riders in the country. I would want to include him.
All right, Christina, how are
Brian's
you?
got a lot of Churchill experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
I like Scott's strategy of just, looking at that looking at the exactas, weighting them accordingly. We've talked about a lot of prices that make sense. Final Gambit, we touched on him a little bit. I even think Flying Mohawk, I'm not going to throw him out. Like, if you're willing to consider Final Gambit, you have to be willing to consider Flying Mohawk because Carrot Conti's, they're actually better on the dirt for me. They're 19% dirt routes. That's higher than his all-weather or turf percentages. So maybe there's a little more to the Jeff Ruby this year again.
I like it. And I probably would use Jose's method of doing the exacta key boxes with my two 50-1 shots.
Yep.
And then just bet $100 straight. Exacta.
Yours is easy. Yours are always easy.
Oh my God. All right. This is one. It only takes one.
Absolutely.
This is a lot of fun. Want to mention again, during Triple Crown season, Equibase is offering lots of specials. You got the usual premium past performances and products like that. For the PPs, $99 for a 3-month subscription. Use promo code TCEQB99 at Equibase.com. And then for the 3-month Raceland subscription, that's $99 as well. It's TCRL99. And again, as we mentioned, FanDuel Racing, want to thank them for presenting this show and remind you to make your bets on the FanDuel Sportsbook app for this Kentucky Derby. So this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed having another Dan with me, 2 NHC champions, and Christina, it is always an honor to have you with us before these big race weekends. So we'll keep an eye on your coverage the rest of the week, and Scott will be texting you furiously. Lots more questions, so be ready for those. But until next time, I'm Dan Tordjman, and we'll see you soon. Good luck this weekend.
With the first pick in the 2025 Sportsbook Draft, FanDuel selects the Kentucky Derby.
New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $500 on the Kentucky Derby with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.